Most unbreakable NHL records. In professional sports, records can be set or broken in any game. Watching a record be broken is always exhilarating, especially if you see it personally. However, some records are so spectacular that they appear unbreakable and will most certainly remain with the record holder indefinitely. Here are the top NHL records that will most likely never be broken. Let's get into it. Number 1. Henri Richard, most career Stanley Cup wins as a player. Henri Richard won 11 Stanley Cups throughout his 19-year career. Because of the NHL's large number of teams, we are confident that this record will never be broken. It is practically impossible for a player in the NHL's 30-team league to reach the Stanley Cup Finals 11 times in his career. Richard spent the majority of his career playing in a league with only 6 teams, known as the Original Six. Although the league expanded to 12 clubs in 1967, it remains much smaller than 30. Bottom line, if it was difficult to execute half a century ago, it will be impossible to do now. Number 2. Montreal Canadiens, most consecutive Stanley Cup Finals appearances. From 1951 to 1960, the Montreal Canadiens made 10 consecutive Stanley Cup Final appearances. Sounds impossible, right? Sure, it looks nice, but this record was achieved when the NHL had 6 teams. Starting to appear less amazing, eh? 10-year final streak would be nearly impossible. This record, like many others, can be attributable to a lack of teamwork. However, this remains one of the league's most unassailable records. The Canadiens were enjoying a dynasty, which is unusual in today's NHL. The Detroit Red Wings have been the closest thing to a dynasty in contemporary times, dating back to the late 1990s. Number 3. Jean Beliveau, most Stanley Cup rings in a lifetime. Most players never get to lift the Stanley Cup. Most NHL players do not have the opportunity to experience the wonderful feeling of skating around the ice with hockey's most valuable possession. However, some players have won the cup more than once. In his career, Jean Beliveau won the Stanley Cup 17 times, 10 as a player and 7 as a member of Montreal's front office. That is a difficult statistic to understand. 17 times? How does this happen? The inflated total could be attributable to the NHL's 16 format when Beliveau played. Number 4. Glenn Hall, most consecutive complete games by a goaltender. This record is extremely astounding, especially considering Hall played at an age when goaltenders did not wear masks. Glenn Hall played 502 consecutive games as a goaltender over 8 seasons, from 1955 to 1963. Today, goaltenders wear an unbelievable amount of protection and equipment, but Hall played his streak with the simple equipment depicted in the image to the left. Despite the quantity of equipment that modern goalies wear, they do not play full seasons. Hall went nearly 8 full seasons without missing a game. Fantastic! Number 5. St. Louis Blues and Boston Bruins, fastest 2 goals. This is one of those records that was almost entirely a fluke. On December 19, 1987, the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues scored goals 2 seconds apart. The Bruins were behind 6-4 in the third period when Ken Linesman scored with 10 seconds left. The little opportunity to score again was dashed when Blues center Doug Gilmour scored from a face-off into an open net. That, in my perspective, is fairly ridiculous. It is almost certain that this will not be broken, unless it is broken by a hundredth of a second or so. We do not think you can go much quicker than 2 seconds. Number 6. New York Islanders, most consecutive playoff series victories. The New York Islanders won 19 consecutive playoff series from 1980 to 1984. This run occurred during the Islanders' 1980s heyday. The Isles' stretch of 19 consecutive postseason series triumphs exemplifies their absolute dominance. Their streak was broken in the 1983-84 playoffs, when they lost to the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup Final. Number 7. Bill Mosienko, fastest hat trick by a single person. On March 23, 1952, Bill Mosienko scored 3 goals in the span of 21 seconds. We don't see that record being broken because we don't believe anyone else will have the same level of wonderful fortune as Mosienko did. Scoring 3 goals in 21 seconds is most likely a combination of 10% skill and 90% luck. At such odds, we can't imagine this occurring again. He initially beat Rangers goalie Lorne Anderson at 6:09 in the second period, then again at 6:20 and 6:30. That adds up to 21 seconds. Nobody has ever matched Bill's record. Jean Beliveau is second with 3 goals in 44 seconds. Hey, it's not impossible, but it's very near. Number 8. Gordie Howe, oldest player. 52 years and 11 days. That is how old Gordie Howe was when he retired from NHL play. They don't call him Mr. Hockey for nothing. Given that players today rarely play past the age of 40, we doubt Howe's record will ever be broken. Simply seeing a 50-year-old playing in today's NHL is terrible. He would struggle to keep up with the newer, faster game. Not even Chris Chelios could do it. Unless we find a means to stop the aging process, Howe will keep the record indefinitely. Number 9. Martin Brodeur, most career wins by a goaltender. Brodeur hasn't retired yet, so his record will just continue to rise. It is currently at 606, and Brodeur is just beginning to see the decline of his career. Expect the number to grow modestly. The second and third place goalies are Patrick Waugh with 551 and Ed Belfour, 484. Chris Osgood at 396 and Nikolai Khabibulin at 307 are the closest active goaltenders, although they are both 37 years old and younger goalies are taking their place as starters. Brodeur's record is unlikely to be surpassed. Number 10. Bill Mickelson, worst plus-minus in a single season. This is really wonderful. That's extremely horrible. Bill Mickelson concluded the 1974-75 season with a total plus-minus of -82. How a player can conclude a season with a plus-minus of -82 amazes me to the point of insanity. It appears unbelievable, if not impossible. What makes matters worse is that he only appeared in 59 games that year. Mickelson appeared in 147 NHL games, recording a shocking plus-minus of -147. For those of you who have had too much to drink or are mathematically challenged, that translates to an average of -1 per game. Quite the defenseman, eh? Mickelson's NHL career would end with just 1 game after 1974-75. Good riddance. Number 11. Honorable mention. Terry Sawchuk, most career ties by a goaltender. In actuality, this record is the most unbreakable of them all, but for the wrong reasons. Terry Sawchuk's record of 172 career ties as a goaltender should remain forever now that ties are no longer used in NHL competition. That is, until the league reinstates the tie function for an extended period of time. Putting this record at number 1 felt like a letdown because it is so blatantly unbreakable. However, adding it anywhere else on the list feels like a fraud for the same reasons indicated above. As a result, it has been given the honorable mention classification because legally it is a record, but because it cannot be physically broken, it is a form of cheating. Sawchuk played in the NHL from 1949 to 1970, representing the Detroit Red Wings, Boston Bruins, Toronto Maple Leafs, Los Angeles Kings, and New York Rangers. He recorded more than half of his ties, about 65, during his first stint with the Red Wings, which lasted from the 1949-50 season to the 1953-54 season. Well, that's it for today's video. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates.